Ladies and gentlemen, let's cut straight to it. Attraction is not a puzzle that requires a PhD to solve, but it is an art, and most men get it wrong because they're looking for signals in the wrong places. They overanalyze, they second guess, they think too much about what they're supposed to say instead of watching what she's already saying without words. If a woman wants to sleep with you, she doesn't put up a billboard on the freeway. She communicates through little behaviors, little choices, little signs that can be obvious if you know where to look. And when you know these signs, you stop chasing clarity where there is none, and you start paying attention to what is right in front of you. The first sign is proximity. Women don't stick around where they don't want to be. If she wants to sleep with you, she won't be at the other end of the bar or the far corner of the couch. She will find excuses to be close. It could be leaning in when you speak, even though she can hear perfectly well. It could be brushing against your arm more than once. It could be staying in your space just a second longer than politeness requires. Proximity is not random. A woman who wants nothing from you will keep her bubble intact. A woman who wants intimacy will keep shrinking that bubble until you notice. The second sign is touch. Now, not all touches are created equal. A polite pat on the shoulder when she laughs at your joke is not the same as her fingers lingering on your forearm when she makes a point. Touch that lasts a beat longer than necessary, touch that reappears over and over again, touch that doesn't feel accidental. That is sexual interest in physical form. And here's the thing. Women know exactly what they're doing when they touch. Men often confuse this, but trust me, touch is never careless. If she keeps finding reasons to make contact with your body, she is communicating desire without needing to spell it out. The third sign is her eyes. People say the eyes don't lie, and in this case, they really don't. A woman who is thinking about sleeping with you is not just looking at your face. She is scanning you. She is dropping her gaze to your mouth, your chest, maybe even down lower. You'll catch her staring at you when she thinks you're not looking. And if you catch her more than once, that's no accident. Eye contact can be intense. It can be playful. It can be fleeting but repeated. But what it never is neutral. If her eyes are lingering where her words are not, that is one of the loudest signals you'll ever get. The fourth sign is the way she talks to you. A woman who is sexually interested doesn't keep the conversation at safe, boring levels. She teases, she jokes, she pushes the boundary just enough to test if you'll play along. Her language becomes suggestive without being explicit, and she uses innuendo as a way to create a private world between the two of you. Pay attention to her tone. Is she being playful in a way she isn't with others? Is she testing your sense of humor around sexual topics? That's not idle chatter. That's her giving you a map to where her mind is. The fifth sign is time. A woman who is interested in sleeping with you gives you her time, and not just in casual doses. She extends the night. She doesn't check her watch. She doesn't make excuses to leave. In fact, she may cancel other plans just to keep the moment going. Time is one of the most valuable resources anyone has, and if she is spending it on you, especially in settings that create privacy or intimacy, she's not doing it out of charity. If she's still there when she could easily have been gone, that's because she wants to be exactly where she is, and chances are she wants to take it further. The sixth sign is escalation. This is the point where everything comes together. If she's giving you proximity, touch, eyes, flirtatious conversation, and time, the final step is her allowing, or even creating, opportunities for things to move forward. Maybe she suggests one more drink at your place. Maybe she doesn't resist when you suggest it. Maybe she finds a reason to show you something on her phone and ends up leaning into you while you both laugh at the screen. Escalation is when she not only accepts your lead, but actually makes it easier for you to take it. She is showing you that she's not just open to intimacy, she's anticipating it. Now, here's where men often fail. They think these signs are guarantees, that once you see them, the outcome is already decided. That's not true. These are invitations, not contracts. A woman can change her mind at any moment, and respecting that is part of being the kind of man she actually wants to sleep with. If you ignore her boundaries, you lose everything. If you respect her signals and respond in kind, you win her trust and her desire at the same time. The real secret here is not to memorize a checklist and start ticking boxes like an accountant. The real secret is awareness. Women are constantly communicating, but too many men are too wrapped up in their own heads to notice. If you train yourself to actually observe, to slow down and listen with your eyes as much as your ears, these signs will stand out to you as clearly as traffic lights on a road. And once you see them, you don't need to force anything. You don't need cheesy lines or manipulative tricks. You just need to respond with the same energy she's giving you. Attraction is not a debate to be won. It's not a game where you argue her into bed. It's an exchange of signals, a dance of energy, a conversation without words. And when you understand the signs of a woman who wants to sleep with you, you stop wasting time chasing the uninterested and start building real connections with the ones who actually do. That's the difference between guessing and knowing, between fumbling and flowing, between hoping for a chance and recognizing when the chance is already right there in front of you. When you think about attraction, most people complicate it. They assume it's about saying the right thing, about having the perfect line, about impressing someone with stories or status. But here's the truth. Women don't fall into bed because of a rehearsed script. They respond to energy, to presence, to how you make them feel in the moment. And the signs we're talking about are not just random behaviors. They're the way she lets you know that she feels that pull with you. If you want to understand women better, you need to stop focusing on what you want to happen and start paying attention to what is already happening. Think about proximity again. It's subtle, but it's powerful. If she moves closer to you, even just by inches, that's not an accident. Human beings are wired to protect their personal space, and most women are especially cautious about who they let inside that bubble. So if she's leaning in, if her knees are pointed toward you, if she keeps positioning herself where you have easier access to her, that's not coincidence. That's comfort combined with curiosity. It's the body's way of saying, I want to be closer to you than I am with anyone else here. And with touch, don't underestimate how intentional it is. Men sometimes dismiss a touch as friendly, or they tell themselves they are imagining it. But if she touches you repeatedly, especially in ways that are gentle, lingering, or slightly intimate, on the hand, the arm, the thigh, the back of the neck, she knows exactly what that means. Touch is one of the oldest languages we have. Long before people said the words, I like you, they reached out with their hands. And in the context of attraction, touch doesn't just happen. It builds a bridge, it tests your reaction, it lays the groundwork for everything else. The eyes, though, those give everything away. Eyes can seduce faster than any compliment. Notice the difference between casual eye contact and the kind that lingers. Casual eye contact is quick, polite, in and out. But the eyes of desire hang on you. They move over you. They light up when you speak. You'll feel them before you even register them, because your own body responds to that kind of gaze. And don't forget, if she looks at your mouth often while you talk, she is imagining kissing you. That's not theory, that's psychology. The human brain doesn't fixate on lips unless it's considering them in a physical way. Her words matter too, but not just the words themselves. Listen to her tone. Listen to how she frames her jokes. Listen to the way she uses playful exaggeration or hints. When a woman is interested, her conversation with you takes on a different flavor. She teases you more boldly than she teases others. She drops hints that create opportunities for innuendo. She's not doing it by mistake. She's testing if you're paying attention, if you can handle the flirtation, if you can meet her in that space between innocent banter and sexual suggestion, if you respond with the right balance of humor and confidence. She knows she's safe to take it further. Now, time is something people often overlook, but it's one of the strongest signs of all. Ask yourself this: why would someone rearrange their plans, linger longer than expected, or extend a conversation way past the point of necessity if they weren't enjoying every minute? A woman who is sexually drawn to you will find ways to stretch the clock. She'll say yes to the extra drink. She'll laugh at one more story. She'll keep finding reasons not to walk away. And when the night winds down, instead of looking for an exit, she's open to detours that keep her by your side. That's not politeness, that's intent. And then comes escalation, the final piece of the puzzle. Escalation doesn't have to be dramatic. It's not about some huge leap. It's about the little moments that add up. She's not just open to physical closeness, she's helping create it. She lets her body angle toward yours. She accepts the intimacy of shared spaces. She doesn't flinch when your hand brushes hers. In fact, she leans into those moments. Maybe she initiates them. Maybe she suggests the quiet corner. Maybe she asks to see your place. Maybe she simply doesn't protest when the suggestion comes from you. Escalation is the natural flow when desire has already been made clear through all the other signs. But here's what separates men who succeed from men who fail. The ones who fail see these signs and either ignore them because they're too nervous, or they blow right past them because they're too eager. The ones who succeed understand the rhythm. They don't rush. They don't hesitate forever either. They read the signals, they match the energy, and they create a space where intimacy feels like the next obvious step, not a pressured one. It's important to remind yourself that attraction is fluid. A woman can give you 5 signs in a row and still change her mind at the last moment. That doesn't mean she tricked you. That means she's human. Respecting that shift is essential. Because if you don't, you prove you were never really paying attention to her in the first place. You were only paying attention to your own agenda. The man who can read the signs and still honor her choices is the man who not only gets the chance, but also earns her respect afterward. Now, beyond these 6 signs, there are subtle layers you'll start noticing once you sharpen your awareness. Pay attention to how often she mirrors you. If you lean back, she leans back. If you cross your leg, she crosses hers. That unconscious mimicry is not just coincidence. It's biology syncing up with attraction. Watch how often she laughs, and not just polite laughter, but genuine, full laughter. Laughter is intimacy in disguise, a way of saying she's comfortable enough to let her guard down. Notice how her energy shifts when you enter a room. If her voice lifts, if her posture changes, if she suddenly has more focus on you than on anything else happening around her, that's not random. That's desire in motion. There's also the digital side of it. In today's world, the way she texts, the speed at which she replies, the kind of emojis she uses, the hours she's willing to chat with you, these are modern extensions of the same signals. If she's messaging you late at night, if she's keeping the conversation alive long after it should have ended, if she's sprinkling her words with playful or suggestive hints, she's not doing that for entertainment. She's doing it because she's imagining you, and she wants you to imagine her too. What men need to understand is that women don't usually say directly, "I want to sleep with you." They show it. They test to see if you'll recognize it. They drop clues like breadcrumbs, and if you pick them up with confidence, the path becomes clear. If you ignore them, she loses interest. If you misinterpret them, she feels misunderstood. But if you see them for what they are and respond with patience, respect, and a touch of boldness, you step into the role of the man she was hoping you'd be. And let's be honest, this isn't about manipulation. This isn't about tricks. This is about understanding how human beings communicate desire. Men and women alike want connection. They want chemistry. They want to feel seen and understood. When a woman wants to sleep with you, she tells you in these 6 ways and more, but only if you're present enough to notice. The real question is not whether the signs exist, they do. The real question is, are you paying attention, or are you too distracted by your own overthinking to see what's been right there the entire time? Think about how subtlety plays into all of this. A woman rarely shouts her attraction from the rooftops, because that's not how desire works. Desire is more about tension than declaration. It's about the little shifts, the quiet clues, the things most men miss because they're either distracted or too wrapped up in their own nerves. But once you start noticing, you'll realize the signals are everywhere. A tilt of the head when you speak, a certain softness in her smile, the way she lingers instead of leaving. These aren't coincidences. They're the foundations of intimacy being laid brick by brick. Now, let's talk about pace. Attraction has its own rhythm, and the rhythm matters. If you're paying attention, you'll notice whether she's quickening the pace or slowing it down. When a woman is interested, she often moves faster than normal. She responds to your messages quicker. She agrees to see you sooner. She makes plans with less hesitation. She finds ways to accelerate things because she doesn't want to lose the momentum. If she's not interested, she delays, she drags, she creates excuses. Time is either an ally or an obstacle, and the way she uses it tells you everything. One thing men often underestimate is the power of her imagination. Before anything physical happens, she has already played it out in her mind. If she's laughing at your jokes a little too hard, if she's complimenting you more than necessary, if she's hinting at how good you smell or how she likes the way you carry yourself, these aren't just casual remarks. These are her testing how it feels to flirt openly with you. She's picturing what could happen, and if her imagination is running wild, it's usually because she wants reality to follow. And let's not ignore body language beyond touch. Body language is a whole language of its own. Notice her posture when she's around you. Is she opening herself up, shoulders back, chest facing you, legs uncrossed? Or is she closed off, arms folded, body turned away? Openness is attraction. Closed-off body language is protection. If she's adjusting her hair often, fixing her outfit, checking her reflection in her phone or in the mirror when you're nearby, that's not vanity. That's preparation. She's subconsciously wanting to look her best because she hopes you'll notice. Let's get deeper into the psychology. Humans crave validation, but women who are sexually attracted to you seek it in specific ways. She might ask you questions she doesn't need answers to, just to hear your voice or keep the conversation alive. She might accidentally overshare, revealing personal details that make her more vulnerable, because intimacy in conversation often leads to intimacy elsewhere. She might even fish for compliments by downplaying something about herself, waiting to see if you'll reassure her. These are not random, these are invitations. Another layer to this is competition. If she's interested in you, she will subtly position herself against other women. She might make a small remark about someone else at the bar, or she might tease you about how many women you talk to. She's not just making conversation, she's checking to see where she stands. Jealousy, even in light doses, is one of the clearest indicators of desire. If she cares enough to compete, it means she wants to win your attention. Now think about the way she listens. Most people listen halfway, already preparing what they'll say next. But a woman who's genuinely drawn to you listens differently. She asks follow-up questions. She remembers details. She circles back to things you mentioned earlier. She's invested. And if she laughs at stories you've told more than once, not because they're new, but because she likes how you tell them, that's not about the story. It's about the connection she feels hearing it from you. There's also the concept of testing boundaries. Women will often push small boundaries to gauge your response. She might make a provocative joke. She might step a little closer than necessary. She might suggest something slightly mischievous. She's watching how you handle it. Do you flinch? Do you freeze? Or do you meet her with confidence and ease? If you pass her tests, she feels more comfortable letting her guard down further. If you fail, she pulls back. Attraction is not just about chemistry. It's about trust in your ability to handle her energy. Let's be honest. A lot of men miss these moments because they are either too shy or too arrogant. The shy man waits for neon signs and verbal declarations, missing the softer clues. The arrogant man assumes interest where there is none, steamrolling past subtlety and turning a maybe into a no. The balance lies in awareness without entitlement. You observe, you match, you respect. That's what makes her feel safe enough to let her attraction expand. One of the most underrated signs is her willingness to be playful. Playfulness is the cousin of seduction. If she's teasing you, if she's joking in ways that create a private bubble between you, if she's leaning into that back and forth, she's not doing it just for fun. She's building rapport. She's creating an inside world where it's just the two of you. That world is the playground of intimacy, and if you know how to move within it, things escalate naturally. And then there's silence. People forget that silence can be as powerful as words. If she lingers in silence with you, if she doesn't rush to fill every gap in the conversation, that's a sign she's comfortable. Silence between strangers feels awkward. Silence between people attracted to each other feels charged. Pay attention to those pauses. They're not empty. They're filled with possibility. In the modern world, you'll also see signals in the digital trail she leaves. If she watches your stories the moment you post them, if she likes more of your content than anyone else, if she sends you random memes just to keep a thread alive, she's not just bored. She's keeping herself on your radar because she wants to stay on yours. Digital attraction may look casual, but it's deliberate. People spend their attention where they want their desire to go. Now let's add another layer, vulnerability. A woman who wants to sleep with you doesn't just flirt, she shares. She lets you see parts of herself that aren't for everyone else. It might be personal struggles, childhood memories, secret ambitions. She doesn't have to tell you any of this, but she does, because vulnerability builds intimacy, and intimacy leads to closeness. If she's opening up, she's not just passing time. She's drawing you into her inner world, and that's one of the strongest indicators of deeper desire. Finally, notice the logistics she sets up. If she's interested, she makes herself available. She clears her schedule. She suggests times that work. She accepts invitations without hesitation. She may even engineer opportunities for privacy, choosing places where you'll be alone, or suggesting after-hours plans that naturally lead to intimacy. None of this is coincidence. It's structure. It's her way of saying yes without ever having to spell it out. When you put all of this together, the proximity, the touch, the eyes, the flirtatious tone, the time, the escalation, and all the subtler layers, you start to see that women are constantly communicating their desire. It's not hidden. It's not impossible to read. It's there, waiting for the man who pays attention. And when you do pay attention, everything about your interactions shifts. You stop wondering, does she like me? And start recognizing, she's already showing me she does. That shift changes how you carry yourself. how you respond, how you connect. And ultimately, that's what makes the difference between confusion and clarity, between hesitation and action, between being another forgettable encounter and being the man she actually chooses. There's another thing that's worth noticing, and it's so simple that most men overlook it. A woman who's interested finds reasons to stay connected even when she doesn't have to. Maybe she texts you the next day with something small, pretending it's casual. Maybe she remembers a random detail you mentioned and brings it up later. Maybe she sends you a song, a picture, or a joke that reminded her of you. This isn't just filler. It's her way of keeping the thread alive, making sure you don't forget her, making sure the energy you built together doesn't fade. Women don't do this with men they don't care about. They don't make that effort unless there's something underneath it. There's also how she positions herself socially. If you're out in a group and she's interested in you, she makes sure you feel singled out, even in the crowd. She directs her jokes at you. She laughs louder at your comments than anyone else's. She maintains eye contact across the room. It's her way of saying, out of everyone here, you're the one I'm giving my energy to. And it works, because men feel that difference immediately. You can sense when you're the focal point of someone's attention, and it's not by chance. Another thing men often underestimate is the way a woman uses curiosity. She'll ask you about your life in ways that go beyond small talk. She'll ask about your relationships, your preferences, the kind of women you're into. These questions aren't harmless, they're reconnaissance. She wants to know where she stands, whether she has a shot, whether you're available. Curiosity is a window into interest, and if she keeps prying into who you are beyond surface-level details, it's because she's invested in knowing you in a deeper way. Pay attention to how she reacts when other women enter the picture. If you're talking to someone else and she suddenly becomes more animated, if she interrupts, if she tries to pull your attention back to her, that's a clear signal. Jealousy, even in its quietest form, is one of the most revealing emotions, and jealousy doesn't show up unless there's attraction. She doesn't care who else you're talking to if she doesn't want to be the one you're focused on. Another signal you might miss is how she tests your masculinity in subtle ways. She might challenge you, she might tease you about something, she might push a little to see how you respond. This isn't hostility, it's her way of checking if you can handle her energy. If you fold under pressure, she loses interest. If you respond with playful strength, with composure, she feels safer opening up more. These little challenges are her way of filtering. Women don't waste that energy on men they don't care about. And then there's the physicality of attraction that you notice in the smallest details. She breathes differently when she's around you. Faster, deeper, sometimes with a catch in her voice. Her pupils dilate, she flushes more easily. These aren't things she controls, they're biological responses. If you notice them, you'll see desire written on her body before she ever admits it. It's primal, it's unconscious, and it's one of the most reliable indicators you can pick up on if you're paying attention. Don't overlook the role of touch in reverse. Sometimes she won't just touch you, she'll give you permission to touch her. She won't pull away when your hand grazes her back. She won't step back when you lean close to speak. She may even position herself in a way that makes it easier for you to close the gap. These moments aren't loud, but they're significant. If she didn't want intimacy, she'd make the distance clear. If she allows it or encourages it, she's telling you where her mind is headed. Women also use humor in deliberate ways. If she's interested, her jokes often carry a sexual undertone. She might comment on how you look in a playful way. She might exaggerate a situation so that the two of you can laugh at something a little risque. This isn't random humor. It's selective, targeted, meant to create a spark that lives in the space between a laugh and a thought about what else might happen. Humor in this context becomes a tool of seduction. Notice also her investment in appearance. If she's around you and she keeps adjusting her outfit, touching up her lipstick, checking her hair, that's not about her being vain. That's about her being aware of how you see her. She wants to make sure she looks her best because she's aware of your eyes. A woman who doesn't care won't bother. A woman who does will make the effort, whether consciously or not, to look as desirable as she feels. Now let's talk about proximity in another way, how she positions herself when there's no need. If she chooses the seat next to you when the room is wide open, if she hovers near you in a crowded space, if she stands close enough that you can feel the warmth of her body, these are deliberate choices. Human beings naturally maintain distance unless they want closeness. She doesn't end up near you by accident again and again. She ends up near you because she wants to be in your orbit, and you'll notice escalation not just in physical terms, but in conversation. The topics shift. What starts as small talk about work or hobbies gradually becomes about relationships, intimacy, personal experiences. If she's steering the conversation into territory that has more emotional or sexual undertones, she's not doing it for fun. She's doing it to see if you'll meet her there. It's a way of saying, I'm opening the door. Will you step through? The signs are not always loud, but they're consistent. You'll see a pattern. She laughs harder, she touches more, she lingers longer, she invests deeper. One sign on its own might not mean much, but when you start stacking them together, the picture becomes undeniable. Attraction is not a single spark. It's a series of sparks building into a flame. If you see multiple signs aligned, that's when you know you're not imagining things. That's when you know she's signaling what she wants. Another aspect is how she reacts when you lead. If you suggest a slightly bolder move, moving to a quieter place, sitting closer, or making a playful remark, she doesn't shut it down. She leans into it. She follows along. She encourages the next step. That receptiveness is a signal all on its own. If she wasn't interested, she'd cut it off quickly. But if she is, she opens the door wider, and here's the key. Women rarely make it painfully obvious because subtlety is part of the game. Desire isn't about shouting, it's about hinting. It's about building tension, not destroying it with bluntness. The dance is what makes attraction exciting. And if you can ride the rhythm, if you can move with it instead of against it, you'll always know where you stand. Most men fail because they either don't see the signals or they ignore them out of fear. They tell themselves, I don't want to misread things, so they do nothing and the moment passes. Or they assume interest without evidence, push too hard and ruin it. The art is in the balance. It's in reading her, matching her, and responding at the right pace. That's what makes intimacy natural instead of forced. At the end of the day, these signs are not about tricking anyone. They're not about strategies or manipulation. They're about awareness. Women are not hiding what they want. They're expressing it in the ways they feel comfortable, waiting for the man who's paying enough attention to notice. If you become that man, not only will your relationships change, but so will the way women see you. Because the truth is, a woman doesn't want to spell it out for you. She wants you to recognize it. She wants you to feel it. She wants you to know without her having to tell you. And when you do, that's when the connection stops being a guessing game and starts becoming something real. So after everything, after all the little signs, after the clues and signals and the way a woman makes her interest known, here's what it really comes down to. Attraction isn't about memorizing a checklist, it's about presence. If you're locked in your head, worrying about the perfect move, you'll miss the moves that are already happening right in front of you. A woman who wants to sleep with you is not hiding it in some secret code you need to crack. She's showing you in her space, in her touch, in her eyes, in the time she gives you, in the way she keeps the night alive when it could have ended hours ago. But these signs don't exist in isolation. They stack, they layer, they build a rhythm, and if you pay attention, you'll see the whole picture forming long before anything physical happens. That's where most men get lost. They think attraction is either an instant yes or a brutal no. In reality, it's often a gradual build, a collection of moments that add up until it becomes obvious. The signs are her way of guiding you there, step by step, without having to be blunt about it. The important thing is to remember that these signs are invitations, not contracts. Desire is fluid, and a woman has every right to change her mind, no matter how many signals she's given. Respecting that is non-negotiable. If you ignore her boundaries, you ruin not only the chance but also the respect. But if you honor her signals and her choices at the same time, you create trust, and trust is what makes intimacy safe and real. The truth is, women don't want a man who needs to be spoon-fed directions. They don't want to have to say out loud every thought or feeling. They want a man who pays attention, who reads the room, who can sense energy without needing a manual. Because that awareness shows confidence, and confidence is the cornerstone of attraction. It shows that you're tuned in, that you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but you're actually seeing her. And when a woman feels seen, really seen, that's when her desire deepens. So what do you take from this? Not just 6 signs, not just a list of behaviors to memorize, but a new way of looking at connection. Every moment she spends with you, every small choice she makes, is either pulling her closer or pushing her further. If you're awake to it, if you're present, you'll know exactly where you stand. You won't need to guess. You won't need to force. You'll recognize when she wants you, and you'll respond in a way that keeps the tension alive instead of killing it. Attraction is not a trick. It's not about manipulation. It's about recognizing the natural flow of human connection and stepping into it with confidence, respect, and awareness. When you do, you'll stop wasting time with women who aren't interested, and you'll start building real intimacy with the ones who are. And that's the difference between chasing and being chosen, between hoping and knowing, between fumbling in the dark and finally understanding the light that's been shining on you all along. So after everything, after all the little signs, after the clues and signals, and the way a woman makes her interest known, here's what it really comes down to. Attraction isn't about memorizing a checklist. It's about presence. If you're locked in your head worrying about the perfect move, you'll miss the moves that are already happening right in front of you. A woman who wants to sleep with you is not hiding it in some secret code you need to crack. She's showing you in her space, in her touch, in her eyes, in the time she gives you, in the way she keeps the night alive when it could have ended hours ago. But these signs don't exist in isolation. They stack, they layer, they build a rhythm, and if you pay attention, you'll see the whole picture forming long before anything physical happens. That's where most men get lost. They think attraction is either an instant yes or a brutal no. In reality, it's often a gradual build, a collection of moments that add up until it becomes obvious. The signs are her way of guiding you there, step by step, without having to be blunt about it. The important thing is to remember that these signs are invitations, not contracts. Desire is fluid, and a woman has every right to change her mind, no matter how many signals she's given. Respecting that is non-negotiable. If you ignore her boundaries, you ruin not only the chance but also the respect. But if you honor her signals and her choices at the same time, you create trust, and trust is what makes intimacy safe and real. The truth is, women don't want a man who needs to be spoon-fed directions. They don't want to have to say out loud every thought or feeling. They want a man who pays attention, who reads the room, who can sense energy without needing a manual. Because that awareness shows confidence, and confidence is the cornerstone of attraction. It shows that you're tuned in, that you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but you're actually seeing her. And when a woman feels seen, really seen, that's when her desire deepens. So what do you take from this? Not just 6 signs, not just a list of behaviors to memorize, but a new way of looking at connection. Every moment she spends with you, every small choice she makes, is either pulling her closer or pushing her further. If you're awake to it, if you're present, you'll know exactly where you stand. You won't need to guess. You won't need to force. You'll recognize when she wants you, and you'll respond in a way that keeps the tension alive instead of killing it. Attraction is not a trick. It's not about manipulation. It's about recognizing the natural flow of human connection and stepping into it with confidence, respect, and awareness. When you do, you'll stop wasting time with women who aren't interested, and you'll start building real intimacy with the ones who are. And that's the difference between chasing and being chosen, between hoping and knowing, between fumbling in the dark and finally understanding the light that's been shining on you all along.